Welcome to week 7. This is the last introduction video that you'll see of just me. So next week when you log in for week 8, you'll see a nice conversational video that will kick off our week. But in terms of your old pattern for the last few weeks of starting out each week with a quick introduction from me, this is it. We're really wrapping up our 8 weeks together quickly, and I hope you've learned a lot and you'll continue to in these last couple of weeks. So I want to start out this week with a quick definition. I want to define culture so we both know what we're talking about before we get into week 7 of the course. Culture, as we're going to discuss it, consists of group norms. Normal behavior that occurs because a group has either sanctioned it or continues to do it. So group norms of behavior and the underlying shared values that keep the norms in place. The underlying shared values are important because that's what we want to address if there's something within the culture that needs to change to make for a better customer relations plan. So let's talk a little bit about, why do we have these shared norms? How do they work in a positive way? Think about a workplace that you're in or have been recently engaged in. When you were hired, did they say, now, if you're invited to a meeting, you're going to show up on time, and if the boss is there, you better even be there early? Likely they didn't, but you probably exhibited that behavior because you picked up on the cues of everybody else in the workplace. Likely they arrived on time, and the more important the meeting or the higher up the executive was that was running the meeting, perhaps they got there a little bit earlier. That's not true of every workplace, of course. There are some cultures where a meeting is called at 11, and if you file in at 11:15, that's fine. But again, you learn these cultural norms by being part of the workplace. So it's not something that is necessarily written out. So you can arrive anywhere between 11 and 11:15, and that's fine here. It's just something you learn by being part of the culture, the work culture. So how do you get that culture to change? If it's not written out, if it's not something that is decreed in an employee manual line by line, how do you get it to change? Culture can change, and customer culture can change in the same way too. When either someone very powerful and respected at the top, a leader that is a leader of people that want to follow them, or a large enough group of non-leaders or executives from anywhere in the organization decide maybe those old ways aren't working, and they start to act differently. Acting differently is the key here. It's not about communicating first and then seeing an action as a result. I'll tell you what, that's what doesn't work. Acting differently, starting to take that leadership very personally, produces better actions. And then when those better actions, when those results start to find a positive change within the culture, and especially as you reach out to your customers, then those results are communicated. And that's an interpersonal piece of communication. That interpersonal communication, it doesn't have to be a formal company newsletter that says, hey, people are acting better. People are showing up on time to meetings. Interpersonal communication helps change that group norm. So like I said, what doesn't work in changing a culture is a list of values before the action. A list of values to say, this is what I want to do. We're going to come down on you if you don't do all of these things that we are now saying is going to make our great customer culture. That doesn't work. Acting differently is what's really going to start seeding the change. So how do you make that incremental change in the culture? You're going to start with skills. I'm going to outline 4 for you. And as I go through them, I'm going to call out what I want you to listen for in the video at the end of this slide deck. So there's a great video, the Maxwell video at the end, and he calls out all of these 4 pieces in a slightly different way. So I'm going to give you those terms to look for too. But first, let me tell you what we're really talking about here. How can we make this incremental change? Number 1, with patience. It sounds so simple. It sounds like I should have some other holy grail to offer you, but really, we're going to start with patience. Spending time with the customer to understand their ever-changing needs. Their needs that are different today than they were yesterday. It's listening well, according to Maxwell. So he calls it listening well. It's really patience. You're going to start with patience to gather the information you need. The second one is attentiveness. Again, this is listening, but now you're listening to what the customers aren't saying. Remember a few slides ago when we talked about how people are unpredictable? Even people don't know what they're going to want in the future. They can tell you something, but it might not necessarily be true. People are unpredictable. This is actually an interesting case study when you think about John Deere tractors. Let's just do a quick example here for a minute. So the John Deere Tractor Company, as you know, makes many different kinds of tractors, some of them commercial and some of them specific for large farms. So when they were looking to kind of enhance their large farm tractor equipment, they sent out surveys to people that were already using the tractors, asked them what they wanted, and got a range of responses. So they wanted safety features to be added. They wanted a different seatbelt adjustment. Things that, on paper you think, boy, this would really be a good competitive advantage. But when they went out and observed the farmers, what they found they really wanted but hadn't thought about asking for was extra cup holders. Extra cup holders make perfect sense when you think about it, right? If you're a farmer, what time are you getting up in the morning? It's not 9 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock or earlier. And you're going to need more than 1 cup of coffee to get that field done by the time the sun gets up. Extra cup holders, something that John Deere illustrates this attentiveness point very well. So first they had to take that first step we talked about, that patience, really finding out what the customer needs before they do an enhancement to how they relate with the customer. But then the attentiveness really revealed that unpredictable piece, what the customer really wanted but might not have said. So the Maxwell video that you're going to hear, he calls this observe. It's the same key concept, and you're just going to hear him presented in a slightly different way, but I like to call that out so you know what to expect as you work through this week. The third piece is personal knowledge. So this is really knowing the product or the service that you're engaged in front to back, knowing it from personal use. So not knowing just the list of values or the list of product components that your manager and their manager's manager gave to you, but knowing it from personal use. That really helps shift the customer culture because you can see what personally you identify with, and then you can talk to your customers about it. You'll be able to identify with their concerns and complaints better too if you've experienced every piece of the product or service. So a quick example of this, when I was the public relations and marketing director for several boutique entrepreneurial venture hotels, one multi-million-dollar beautiful property right here in Syracuse, New York. I was, as I mentioned, the marketing and public relations director, but I was still required once a month to be the manager on duty, to stay overnight at that hotel during a very busy weekend and handle all the complaints of every possible department. We don't have enough sheets in housekeeping. We have a line of 20 people that need to check in and there's only one person on the front desk, because that is how I was able to be intimately familiar with every piece of the product, of the service that we were offering. By being familiar with all the parts of it, I was able to have a better understanding of the customer relations plan, especially as it related to communication, the communication pieces that I was in charge of. And that was a critical piece to success. That's that personal knowledge. It's called Learn in the Maxwell video, but it's really the same thing that we're talking about, personal knowledge. And the last piece is a goal-oriented focus. And this is sometimes a company vision that you personally might really buy into. But even more so, it's what the personal gain is that you find from serving your customers. And not just your customers, but your colleagues well. Maxwell does a great job talking about exactly that. He calls it serve. And it's getting outside of what can this company do for me? What can my colleagues do for me? How can I manage this customer so that it looks good for me? And thinking about it in a different way, thinking about serving instead. So one good example of this from my past experience working in the hospitality industry is what a difference it makes when a manager walks through the lobby and picks up a small piece of litter and throws it away in front of all the staff that might be in their job description to do, or it might not be. But someone serving the organization, helping out a colleague, even in just a small way like that, really is a big testament to the organization and the customer culture that they have. All right, so here we go on week 7. We're almost there. I hope you're starting to see these great themes come together. What we learned in the first few weeks really paying off now as we go through the implementation pieces in these last couple of weeks.